No moments.
All right, it should be live now. Should
I'll
be.
refresh it one more time. Let's see.
Should
Nope.
be. It should be good.
Mao.
Mao.
Mao. Diddy Mao.
It should
I
should it
haven't heard
should
that
be.
in a while.
It should be good.
It's still not live on the page.
Well, that's you, sir.
Oh. There it is.
There we got it. Hooray! Hooray!
Oh, shit. Okay. I'm hearing myself. Diddy
Oh,
Mao.
oh. Yeah, you got to
All
mute
right.
that shit.
It's muted.
All right, good. Well, this is Talking Tech number 4,
Episode 4. I'm Chris, Coalition Gaming.
and I'm Chris, Homebrewed Hero, because that's me,
The one and only.
the one and the only. And I'm feeling
All right.
really shitty today because I've been sick. So, and yeah, so if I'm not as energetic as usual, that's why.
It was time for another tech talk, so he's powering through it.
Yeah, the power, the power of the power. Oh lordy, what happened? There we go. We'll fix that right now. There, you're fixed. I don't know why it did that.
I seen it.
Well, fuck it. This shit happens. It's a live thing, so you can't control everything.
That's what happens when we go live.
It's
Go
true.
live.
It's very true. All right, I have the chat open in a window, so I can see if people want to talk and ask questions. Hey, what's up, dude?
Roll the intro.
Yes, the intro. The intro's
It's just
us.
Just go, finger guns. That's what it is.
Yeah, finger guns.
Yeah. I just got the subscription notification.
Okay, good. So now it's up. It's up and running.
Yes, it is.
All right, so we've got some topics to talk about. Why don't you go ahead and start it?
Well, let's give it a few more minutes before we get into Ryzen. So let's start off with some of the less interesting stuff. I see Samsung Z NAND and Intel Optane 3D X-Point stuff.
Do you
I'm
want to
sure
spend
you've-
Do you want to spend $1,300 on an SSD?
Not yet, but then again, when SSDs first came out, that's pretty much where they were too. The basic technology will trickle down.
It uses a PCI Express lane, doesn't it?
4 of them
Yeah. Oh, Jesus H. Christ.
uses 4 PCI Express things. What I like about ZNAND is just the technology in general. Is that they're all like, all right, we have VNAND, and the way they stack it, now they're gonna be stacking it another freaking V in there or something.
Yeah, the way it's structured is it's like a cake. So you're like a multi-tiered wedding cake. So it's like memory, and then interfaces, and then another stack of memory, and then another. But they can build off of it in 3 dimensions.
Chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake. It's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah,
I need to stop moving your Skype window. It did it again.
you did it again.
It's fixed right away, so we're good. I don't know why it does that. Whenever you move it or resize it, it's like "Meh," and screws up your video feed. So I don't understand that, but we're gonna crop you in a little bit, just a little bit. Don't mind that. Centering you in the frame. There you go. That's better. All right. And my nose itches like heck from blowing my nose from throwing up. My nose is a little dry.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I like that I had heard about it a long time ago, especially Intel Optane being this basically solid state DRAM.
It's kind of how it sounds when I was reading into it.
It's kind of cool. You can just turn it on and turn your computer off and on, and it's just like instant, basically.
Yeah. It's
depending on what mode it's in.
It's getting more and more nasty with the interfaces because the M2s are faster data transmission than your SATAs. So if this trickles down to where they start coming out with a dedicated lane, even more so for the Optane, then well shit.
Optane's going to come in DIMM format as well.
I know that's a trip. Which they've already been doing that a little bit on the Z170 boards and Z270 boards. You can actually allocate.
Yeah, they're Optane ready.
Yeah, you can allocate to your existing memory modules as like almost like a NAND on those old Seagate drives, where they had the hybrid,
like a RAM disk.
Yeah, basically it's that idea, and they're super blazing fast from what I heard, but yeah, man, it's I think it's going to be the way of the future, but it's so prohibitively expensive right now.
Yeah, it's the way of the future, but SSDs are still mid-wave,
I know.
regular SSDs.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, at least the technology is there. We know what to expect.
I mean, the adoption rate's just, it's still not quite there yet either. So, I mean, there's that. I mean, more and more people are adopting SSDs, but it's not to the point where we're all dying for the next thing, you know? It's like, oh, we need this. Like,
Right? Yeah, it's people are barely moving up to terabyte SSDs.
I still don't have a terabyte. I just have two 500s
Yeah,
and a stack in there.
that's the usual right now. And
Well,
when
because the
terabytes
price,
come down in price, it's just it jumps up so much more.
I know, and that's the horrible thing. It's like, wait, I can get two 500s, you know, not at once, but I can buy a 500 and be happy. Then when that gets full, I can buy another 500, and it's, yes, you spent more big picture, but it wasn't such a large outlay of cash.
Yeah.
So there's that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting.
I asked Zalman how his new setup is doing with the 128 SSD and two 500 gig drives and a RAID zeros. That way he has a 1 terabyte storage and gaming setup.
Is it running
Loving
much
it.
better?
Much better.
Good.
He says it's life changing, just like I told him SSD would be.
Yes. SSDs are life changing.
SSDs are life changing, people. If you're on a slow spinner or traditional hard drive and you can jump on an SSD.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, you want more than 128 gigs to start off with, at least 256 gigs, but get what you can get and figure it out from there because it would be awesome.
Oh yeah, no joke. I mean, that's the thing is, you could have an old, I'll just throw it out there, like an old Centrino packaged laptop. You remember those?
Yeah.
And you put an
I
SSD in it,
used months ago.
and those things boogie, dude. They boogie really, really well. So
Yeah, the dual core ones, especially.
yeah, yeah,
Like a D620 or the HP 6530Bs.
yeah. I don't even remember what
Nice.
mine was. Mine's it's
D600?
one of it's their 14-inch series, but it was when Vista was around. That was what it came prepackaged with.
Oh, a little newer than that then.
Yeah, a little bit newer, but still, it's an old Centrino. But that had that hybrid Seagate drive in it, the Momentous Cache, or whatever they called those drives.
Mentis XT, that's what I was
That's
using.
it. Yeah, it had that, and those things were nice and fast. There you go.
Very
Zalman
good.
even says right there, it loads so quickly, and for all the hard drives being rated, everything runs perfectly and loads quickly. I added the
Yes.
proper finishes to your words there. You're welcome.
Yes. Quickly!
Oh, oh man.
So, Mass Effect Andromeda. That's
Oh,
getting some.
God.
It's in the news because if you have Origin Early Access, you're allowed to play up to 10 hours.
I honestly think, like, and this is just me, I think the facial animations are one thing, but the whole character animation sometimes just gets so jacked up. Like,
Is that what, like that GIF I saw with the chin, the ugly dude? Like,
or the one with the dude running down the stairs like he took a dump in his pants. Or the ones with the girl with the swagger walking away, like really super like pimp walk. It's absurd. When I saw the clips from it, I was like, oh no, really? Like, it's just, there's no excusing that. Well, see, that's the benefit of you not having a mechanical keyboard and you're using a headset mouse. So when you type in the chat, if I type this, you all can hear that because, well, this keyboards, it even has dampeners on it, but they still are louder than his, and his mic's much farther away.
Yeah, I'm good with my anti-ghosting stuff.
Mine's
but,
like 18 inches away from the keyboard.
It'll be a mechanical keyboard on the next iteration, or I might even jump onto the keyboard that Joseph got Jordan, that E-Element compact mechanical. That's like the small version of Zalman's to take around with the mini rig. Because I always grab this keyboard, my main one.
Is it like a poker knockoff? Because the poker's the keyboard I really want to buy, but I can't justify spending $150 on another keyboard that is solely a backup keyboard.
Let's see. It's E-Element Z88. It's $46. I'll post the link right here in the Talking Tech chat.
I gotta check it out and see.
Oh, it doesn't let me because I'm just a guest in this. You have to do it. I'll Hangouts it to you. Can you open that?
Yeah, I can open Hangouts. It's just gonna make a noise, so everyone's gonna hear the noise.
That's all right.
And hopefully, I don't destroy your. That looks like an absolute knockoff of the poker. Yeah, it looks like a freaking absolute knockoff. There you go. There's the whole link for it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yep. And supposedly the waterproof comes in handy.
I mean,
to both the owners that I know with the variations of them, they both mentioned, oh yeah, the waterproof came in handy. Already stuff happened.
well, I mean, you know, There, screw it. I'm not touching the windows anymore because I touched it and have screwed with your thing again, and I'm done adjusting it because I had to tab out to get to the Hangouts. It's doing it because it's moving the windows. You know how Windows 10 does the snap?
Oh.
It snaps and it screws everything else out. So.
Blue switches are usually loud, especially these Oetsu or whatever, different.
So do they use the same solder points as Cherry MX? Because I have a whole Cherry MX keyboard that's just dead. The controller's dead, but it's brown key switches.
They're shaped differently.
Son of a bitch. That's why I want the poker, because the poker is actually just a tool design. You don't even solder. It's a tool style key.
Like so modular?
Yeah, so you just push it in and you're ready to go.
Cool.
And that's what I really want.
That little guy's hard to beat for $46. So.
46, but it's blue, right?
Yeah, they're blue.
Put it in browns. Browns or reds, I'll buy it.
I don't know what that company's going to put out. I wonder if they have one. But
you know me, I'm super partial to my browns or reds. Yeah,
browns I hear get a lot of good attention.
Well, it's because it's not... It actually has feel to it, whereas reds have no feel. Reds are just perfectly linear, like, and keys activated, I don't know where. Oh, now it's not, now it is. Whereas browns are reds with a little hump. That's all it is.
Ah. Yeah, so the reds are more like my anti-ghosting setup.
Yeah, except they're mechanical and they actually feel, proper versus feeling like a membrane, but still, it's... The browns...
I wouldn't say like a membrane. But
no, but you know what I'm saying, like, I don't even know where my little Raspberry Pi keyboard is, wherever that thing is. that thing's just a rubber membrane, and it's like that thick. It's a chiclet style keyboard. So
yeah,
but yeah. Yep. So what have you heard about Andromeda? We deviated there quite a bit, but
that's right, that we did. So other than the facial expression animation stuff, it's more like it's getting mixed reviews. So I was talking to Joseph with it a little bit, one of our other gaming crew members, everybody, and Joseph was mentioning that, like, regardless of whether it being mediocre or just not as good as the previous trilogy, the game is set up to be another trilogy, and they're going to have room to improve. I guess, sure.
Okay, I mean, I believe it, but
I think it's interesting because it seems like they only announced it yesterday, and it's already coming out. So maybe they just got rushed.
Well, I think the thing, I didn't really research this topic, so I could be completely wrong. But I'm wondering if there was a like a leak. Remember how Grand Theft Auto was leaked on PC before it came out on PC?
Oh yeah,
and everyone was just like shitting on the optimization. They were shitting on this and that, and really, the game hadn't come out yet. And then the day it actually released to the public, there were all these patches for it. So it's like, come on, like you're talking shit about something that really shouldn't be talked shit about. But I heard that they were doing a day zero patch for the facial animation specifically for Andromeda, because I heard it was pretty bad.
It looks like a fish mouth moving. You seen that GIF? It's just that's how it looks like.
It's like the Muppets, dude. It's literally like
the chewing one.
I can do this. This might actually be kind of funny. Take this out. Come on. Yeah.
What you got?
This is the Mass Effect Andromeda mouth animation. Well, when there's a frog, like that's exactly how it is. Like, and it's pretty bad, dude. It's just like
the bottom one moves more than the top.
It's It's just still just like, oh my lord.
I think it's funny, but I mean, it's cool. I haven't been much of a BioWare. Like, I missed the boat when all the BioWare stuff was coming out, and I really wanted to play Mass Effect when it first came out, and Dragon Age, and whatever else, and I never got to it. Same thing with The Witcher. I remember when I built my first gaming computer, I'm like, I want the most graphically demanding games ever, and The Witcher was one of them. Rainbow Six Vegas was the other one,
right?
And just. And on, and then I just never got to it, and then I sort of missed the boat, and I'm like, I guess it's too late now.
Right. Well, and I think, excuse me, I think part of the problem is Mass Effect the bar has been set so high that anything that breaks the immersion in the game is really going to piss people off, because the last few Mass Effects were just so... Like, other than the ending of Mass Effect 3, the ending of all the Mass Effects was very well done. The whole story, the gameplay, the mechanics, everything. Like, it just was a game that really immersed you in that environment. And when you have stuff that just is like, it's in a serious moment and the person walks away like they've got that pimp walk, you're just like, wait, what? Like, it breaks that immersion. You're just like, this is so ridiculous.
It goes from like in it to broken. Like
Yeah,
bug. What?
yeah. And I think that pisses most people off. And Joseph, if he was in here, it would be a prime example for him to chime in on it, because he really is. I think him and Cody, I think, are the biggest fans of Mass Effect that I know. And
I
they,
think Matt's a fan too, but he's not as big a fan as those guys.
yeah. Oh well, Cody and Joseph. If
Maybe,
you could, oh my
maybe
god.
literally physically.
Well, true, true. It's just, I mean, I liked it. I just never finished 3 because I just, it's not a game that I really enjoyed too deeply, because it felt like there was so many lulls in it. So I'm not the person to really say like, yes, Andromeda's broken and this game was the greatest thing ever, but I could see why people really enjoyed it. But I will say that since it was written so well, all of them were written so well. I've seen that. When you do have stuff that breaks that immersion, you're just like, well, this is shit. This is absolute shit. And
Yeah,
that's why people are getting mad.
it's weird how quickly disillusioned you get when something breaks you out of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's definitely what's going on. People are just going, "Oh man, I was
That's
expecting so much more." I was like, then the early players are probably just, yeah, the patches are definitely gonna hopefully take care of some of those issues.
well, it's like the horrible voice acting in Wildlands.
Uh, don't get me started on that.
That's
Man,
another one. That's pretty bad.
they just like I think Ubisoft in what Montreal is that
I, I don't even know. Probably.
Canada. One of the just they're just like let's just hire the Mexican actors from Southern California or something to pop because that's where all like media that type of people are or somewhere in Vancouver.
And it's the worst. It's like that, like derivative accent too. It's not even like authentic. It's like, we're going to go into this place and we're going to go fight El Sueño. I'm just like, what?
No, but to me like the
It's
worst
so
is
bad.
the radio DJ. He sounds like
Oh
an
Lord.
East LA vato.
He does. Yeah, that's why I immediately get in. It's like, R, goodbye radio. I'm not listening to this crap. I can't. I can't.
Oh, that's the button.
Yeah, R turns it off. It's just,
Even like the way they're dressed walking around, like I can believe the rebels with their brightly colored
yeah.
little hat things, but then I see like sombrero and like looking like Mexican cowboy guy walking around. I'm like,
Or every single one of the cartel,
well, the cartel is a Mexican cartel.
but
That's
still,
the story.
like if I'm not part of organized crime, but I would assume if you wanted to be under the radar, you wouldn't dress like you're part of organized crime from a gang in East LA. And you wouldn't shoot your guns all sideways like a vato. Like you just would not do that. It's just something you like. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's a Mexican cartel, not a Mexican American gang.
But
right?
but my point is, this is like, okay, I'm pretty sure that. Well, nah, never mind. I don't want to say that joke. That'd be pretty bad. But it's just
They're using all Mexican slang.
I know,
too.
but and they use it like a gangbanger though, like not even like an organized crime. It's like they took
Right.
that like
Yep.
West Side Story and they're like, here you go. Like you're just like, oh, okay, neat.
But what I saw most people like getting weirded out about is that like how the random villagers that you wouldn't expect to even speak English are like, okay, like they're just speaking English to you.
Yeah.
It's not even that broken.
No, and that's the worst part. You're just like, oh, you live in a house with no doors, because apparently none of the doors in that game, or none of the houses in that game really have doors unless it's an objective-based house. And you speak perfect English, and all your TV is static. You never have anything on the TV. Where did you learn that good English, sir? I need to know. But that's a game that doesn't really draw you in because the story's involved, But still, it's one of those things that's like, please, fix this stuff, everybody.
Yeah, I was taking like a break from playing co-op to get familiar with the story, but I'm starting to find out that it's just more like missions.
Yeah, grind
Cobbled
mission.
together.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I guess it's more just like, all right, everybody, let's play Wildlands and then just fool around because it's fun to do that in that game.
Yeah.
As opposed to let's complete story points and advance the story and see what's going on next.
Yeah, no, it's not like that. It is not set up like that at all.
I think that the Division was set up more like that, but then the problem when you're just teamed up with friends talking shit is you just miss it all.
It's true. Which it's a double-edged sword in that respect. It's just, you when you're playing with your friends, you tend just to miss all this stuff. I mean, honestly, I have half of the in-game conversation between the Marine or the Ghost Recon, the Recon soldiers just muted because they say the same thing over and over and over, and it's so irritating.
Cock holster.
It's stupid. It's like, oh, this metal looks nice. I wonder if it'll match my grade A uniform. Oh, where'd they get this? A cracker cereal box? Wonder if they hand these things out. I'm just sick of hearing it. It's like the same 4 or 5 things every time you get a medal, and I'm just like, the game itself is super fun. It's just these small little things going with the bad voice capturing stuff that's done in Andromeda. But yeah,
It's funny how it all works out in the end, but it's just cool to see.
yeah.
Let's
Oh,
see. Star Citizen switching from DX12 to Vulkan.
more game developers should switch APIs.
More Vulkan.
Yep.
That's right.
Vulkan runs so much better on pretty much any hardware, older hardware, new hardware. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. There's no regression with Vulkan. It's just forward.
Yep.
It's either the same or forward.
Yep.
So I mean, why like, and then you get MGPU if it's properly coded and set to go. So it's like you won't need no SLI bridges or anything like that.
Yep.
If everything is supported properly, or if you have 1060, for example, that can't do SLI.
Right.
Well, welcome back.
Yep. You're back in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when Doom first came out, I think that was the first game I played that actually had like baked in Vulkan. It wasn't an update. It was baked into it. Or at least like it wasn't turned on, but it was already there.
Yeah, they patched it later. I guess
Right.
They fully enabled it when it was totally done.
Right, and that game from the get-go, as soon as I switched over from DirectX to Vulkan, it was just night and day. Night and day. No weird issues like artifacting, screen tearing, nothing like that. And I'm just like, okay, like I can turn VSync off for the first time ever because now this actually keeps like it's not over-rendering frames and I'm not getting screen tearing. It's actually not using those bits of just extra frames that my screens won't display. It actually does things correctly instead of the garbage you're just getting like, oh, I've got too many frames. Well, now you're going to get screen tearing because this half of the screen's at 120 and this is at 111 and now we got to make up the difference. It's stupid.
Yeah, I'm actually bad. I've had it and I played through all of Doom and it played so great that I just didn't dabble into Vulkan, but I got to reopen it in Vulkan and test it out.
Vulkan's magical.
Yeah, getting the arcade mode, freaking rip and tear.
I love that game. Vulkan,
Yeah.
the Vulkan is just. Didn't they make the same company that made Vulkan? It wasn't OpenGL that they did. What was the other API that they made way back when?
Glide?
Glide. That's it. Yeah,
Yeah, Vulkan is a derivative of Glide. Mhm.
yeah. And it's funny to see that it's like, hey, we're back and we have a new API and it's so much better than everything else. It's like, where have you been? Clearly working on Vulkan.
Meanwhile, yeah. Well, actually, like, think they couldn't move that forward very much until AMD gave up Mantle. But then the good part, in my opinion, on that is AMD giving up Mantle or selling it off or just getting rid of it to the independent team allowed both sides to use it.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, so I mean, AMD's all like, okay, for the betterment of graphics cards everywhere, here you go.
It's true.
And that works. I mean, nobody does that.
And since the ATI's kind of been stepping things up, you want to talk about the rebrand?
Ooh, the Rebrandions.
Yeah, the Rebrandions, yeah.
Honestly, people are making a big fuss over the Radeons being rebranded, but I'm like, what are you expecting, people? Like NVIDIA did something interesting where they went from Maxwell to Pascal in like one generation.
Yeah.
But before that, nobody ever did that.
No.
Like, no. AMD stuck with Fermi for 2. That's the 400 series and the 500 series. Kepler for 2 generations. That's the 600 series and the 700 series. Maxwell got 1. Pascal's getting 1, and now it looks like they're going to Pascal's going to get a second one.
Right.
So like Maxwell's going to look like this redheaded stepchild of all these. If you look at it over like a recent kind of thing,
Yeah.
it was just a stepping stone to Pascal.
Excuse me. Yeah, no, and it was. And I mean there are actual changes though. It's not just a straight rebrand. They're changing a very small thing, but it does.
But that's the same thing Intel does.
Yeah, and so to me it makes sense to call it a different series, but really I think the performance is just going to be the same, maybe 5% improvement, maybe.
Yeah, they're possibly the rumor is that they're changing the process node from like LPE to LPP.
Yeah.
Low power early to low power plus.
Yeah.
And but there isn't really a whole lot of confirmation that they were ever on low power early.
Right.
So it's unconfirmed, but if they're changing the process and they're just sort of refining it better, then it's going to start with a higher stock clock, or rather higher maximum boost clock, which
Right.
is fine. I mean, it's going to be like a overclocked Radeon RX 80, but then I wonder what the maximum capability is going to be, because they're going to lower the TDP at least a little bit. It's going to be slightly more efficient.
Yep.
How can it overclock? That's what interests me the most out of all of this, because
And the
as you refine the node, the overclock gets better.
well, and that's the other thing too, is that the 480s right now and 470s, 460, 470. I think all. I think
470, 480.
yeah, 470, 480. I think that those two, even with the EK water blocks, they just don't clock as high as you can push an NVIDIA card, and it's just like, oh, come on. So I'm thinking that this LPP will help. If they're not already on it, because they won't confirm if they're on LPE, but
Yeah, there's nothing really that says it. Some people have said, like, oh, the engineers have talked about it in engineering day events and things like that, but like, where's that on paper?
yeah.
It sounds like hearsay.
And you know the way that the AMD ATI community tends to get, if somebody somewhere says one thing, it gets held as absolute truth, even if it's from somebody from the team. But that's the way that is. And
this is gonna perform as good as a 980. Yeah, but no, it's exciting to see. This is expected, so like,
no, and it is, and it's really making things interesting for me now, because it's like, well, when these new 480s hit, they're talking, I think, a price point of like $199 for the 8 gig.
Yeah,
I'm just like, that's getting a price reduction too. So you mean I could do like 2 of those and then do a 1700 Ryzen and still be under, $900 for an entirely new build? Not water cooled the cards, because that's going to be $300 right there for 2 blocks. But still, like, I could build a render workstation for not a lot of money. I mean, still, I'd want to go with an NVIDIA setup because of the way the Mercury playback engine works, but still.
Yeah, but I thought you said you can trick it to use OpenCL.
There is a trick. There's some guy made a plugin that you can trick it to use OpenCL. I got to find it, but if I find it, I'll put it in the description. But it was an old workaround for like CS5, but it worked. So yeah,
well, that's something.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get the same performance improvements you do when you're running an NVIDIA setup, but it's better than nothing. It's better than beating the CPU.
Yeah, you think that AMD would push harder to get support for that more, considering that their GPUs are generally better for that kind of work.
Right, they are. And they have more ability to do that. Well, and I don't know if you saw the video from Jay today, where he's putting his money where his mouth is with the AMD, where he's doing a Ryzen 30-day test against his what was it, 6950? Is that what he's running in his?
He was going against a 6900K, I think, and in that specific like face-off that he did, less than 3 minute difference.
Yeah, over 20 minutes, so that's a 10%.
Yeah, and
because it was a
100% cost increase.
Yeah, that's the crazy part about it. It's like, wait a minute. Now, he's running Titans in the one with the Ryzen, but he's running 1080s in the others. So it's like, well, it's an older Titan, not a Titan X or XP.
Yeah, it's the Maxwell.
It's a Maxwell, yeah. So it's like, well, they're very similar, but still, I'm just like, damn, that's an interesting point. And it's like I said in the video I did a while back with the Ryzen 5, is that, to settle the debate once and for all, the i7 7700K is as bad at encoding video as the Ryzen R7s are at gaming. It's just, that's how it is. I mean, you're talking, minuscule differences, but people seem to get their shit all in a twist about it. It's like, come on.
Yeah, when the processors are all here.
Yeah.
Between the companies.
Yeah.
That's a win for everybody.
Yeah.
Not like it was before when it was like this.
You're like, here's your bulldozer, and here's everything Intel's been doing. It's like, well, shit, if I want that performance, I have to pay that.
Yeah. Doesn't matter who's here, or who's here, and who's here. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just.
But my Intel, bro.
Your Intel. That's a beast.
Yeah.
But R5 releasing April 11th. I am interested in playing with your setup after you get it all together.
I really want to get it. I want to put it together and do it. You know what? Why are you doing this to me? There we go. I really want to build another small LAN box, but I want to wait it out, because thus far the mini ITX boards don't have any street dates yet, and it's still up in the air for those. So
I believe that I'm not sure which company is going to do it, but they're going to shoehorn the full X370 into a mini ITX.
Yeah, Elijah and I were talking about that.
Go.
Yeah, we were talking about that. That's the board I want for sure.
So then
For
you get the
sure.
full desktop setup in the mini ITX board.
Yep.
I mean, you might be all right with the B350, but if you stick to one GPU,
Well, in a mini ITX, I'm kind of stuck doing that.
yeah.
Unless I do like
But
a bridge or an eGPU or some obscene bullshit, but I don't want to deal with that.
nah, nah.
No.
But yeah, they're sticking with one GPU. B350 should be all right as long as you get one that's properly VRM'd.
Yep.
That would be a win as well.
That's true.
So yeah, R5 definitely interesting with the the 169 price point for the 1400X.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 1400, not or something like
1500X,
that.
I think, is the 169 one.
No, the 1500 is one step above the bottom one. Let's see real quick.
Hold on. I thought it was a 1500X, but I could be wrong. It might be a 1400X.
It is 1400 is the 4.8.
This is the
Yeah, the hyper-threading quad-core is the 4.8, and the hyper-threading quad-core better version is the 1500X.
that's the one that's supposed to be 190. Sorry. Yeah, that's the one that's yeah.
189 for the 1500X, 169 for the 1400, and the 1400 is a very interesting value proposition for the gamer on a budget, still looking for something pretty solid. 1500X is got more cache available to it, still on the same lower TDP.
Which
higher clocks.
cache counts don't really matter so much anymore these days. Everything's so fast. Your L3 cache size isn't really something to discard a PC or CPU and just be like, oh, this one's only 6 meg or 8 meg. Bah, I want the one that's 16.
Yeah, that a $20 price difference to get the faster factory clocks is almost a no-brainer.
But look at the 1700 versus the 1800X. People are pushing their 1700s to 1700X, 1800X performance numbers.
Oh, right, sure, right. Definitely somebody can take a 1400 up to the speeds of the 1500X. Oh, no problem. It's only a 300 megahertz different on a boost.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Go with the 1400 to 1500X and just call it a day.
Either of those two, push them up to the 1800X speeds. I'm sure it'll make it.
Yep.
There's no way they can't make it, honestly, because you have less cores on a die generating less heat, especially at a lower TDP. How can you not make it up to the speeds of the bigger guys?
Well, I heard they're still using their my brain, it's escaping me. They're the two stacks with the Infinity Fabric negotiating the.
Oh, well, that's the like, it's not the MCM, not the multi-chip module setup. That's just the Infinity Fabric setup that they're doing.
No, but they're still. I heard they're still using the multi-core modules with the Infinity Fabric even on those quad cores. That literally, it's the same silicon. They just said, these cores are locked out. Right. Which, if that's the case, that still scares me because it's like, wait, please don't do 2 on one and 2 on the other. Please don't.
Right. Please don't do 2 plus 2. Please do just 4 plus 0.
Yeah. Please.
4 plus 0. Come on.
And then
2 plus 2.
Some engineer at AMD probably somewhere has someone told him that, and he's like, it doesn't work that way. We have to do 2 plus 2. It's like, damn it. I hope that's not the case, but
I guess it remains to be seen. But the 1600 and the 1600X, I find them interesting as well. 6 core, 12 threads.
That to me is a weird count. Like, that's one of the reasons I didn't adopt the Intels back in the day. It's 6 core. I'm like, man, something about having a 3 and 3 or like, 6, a 2, 2 and a 2, it just seems bizarre to me. Like, I'd rather have it just be 2, 4, 8. Like, keep it like, or 2, 4, 8, 16. I'd rather keep it in that like, I don't know. To me, it just makes sense.
2, 4, 8. You're going like quadding up every time.
Well, almost like you're doing binary, like you're subnetting, right? So you're like 0, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. Like, it makes sense to me just to be like, oh, okay. Now, I'm sure there's nothing wrong with the 6-core processor, but to me in my head, like, the computer side of me is like, that's just weird.
Does not compute.
Yeah, it's like, well, why?
But then they're like, let us compute.
Yeah.
For you.
Because, I mean, that even there is an interesting thing, because on that they still have the multi modules, right? The multi-core modules.
Oh, yeah, that one for sure.
So it's like, are they doing 4 and 2? Or are they doing, so you're just like, well, wait a minute. That Infinity Fabric is going to be like just handling so much migration back and forth, being 3 and 3 if that's how it's done.
But look at the pricing on those, man. $249 and $219 for a 6-core, and then you have an Intel 6800K is what, like $500?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But back in the day, though, those 6-core Intels, the jump from the quad to the 8, you may as well have just saved your pennies and gone with an 8-core.
Yeah, it's not huge.
Yeah, so you're just like, I'll just save the money.
I don't think it's that worth it. Other people might disagree with me. I just don't think it's that worth it. Save your money, build something up, spend it elsewhere. I don't know. better graphics card.
Yeah, I would rather go with the faster clock speed, quad core over a 6 core, lower thread, or a lower core speed, lower boost speed, more heat, all that crap. I'd rather just go with the quad and just bump the bejesus out of that frequency.
The word what we were missing earlier is CCX modules.
That's it, CCX module. I knew it had some. I should remember because that's a Koenigsegg. It's Koenigsegg CCX.
Let's see.
I don't know why my brain didn't register that.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, that's very, very interesting, and I can't wait to see more with the Ryzen R5. I think it's going to be really interesting too what the R3 does.
The R3 is interesting, but I see that
little landbox on a budget, super budget,
super budget. I think that, like, from my point of view, is more of a, like, I want to build a media box just to, like, have a media machine somewhere that runs, or even like a home control system, something simple. But I don't want to. I don't want to learn, Raspberry Pi. I don't want to learn Linux. I don't want to deal with distributions. I just want a Windows box because the software's in Windows. I can do it all. That to me seems like a really interesting proposition, because now, you don't have to call in some home automation company to supply their PC with their hardware specifications if these things will hang. That's an interesting thing.
And you're getting a true quad in the price range of hyper-threading dual core.
Stupid. Hyper-threading dual cores are stupid. I'd rather have 4 cores all day long.
That's true, but in some cases,
because here's the question:
dual core is only $70. It's like, whoa.
I know, but like, here's the question you have to ask, like, yourself and people like watching this is like, okay, would I rather have like an E6420 Core 2 Duo that can hyperthread, or have a Core 2 Quad? Well, to me, it's I'd be like, well, I'll have the Core 2 Quad then.
Figuratively, if it could hyperthread, because they couldn't back then.
But I know. But still.
Yeah, but no, for sure, because this is that. In case anyone was unaware, these hyper threading, those threads, they're not as efficient as a true core. They're probably, I don't know, at best 50 or 60% as strong as the actual core processing its data. So a true core will always be a hyper threading dual core, simply because that the 4 can do 100% of what they're designed to do, as opposed to more like 75% of it.
Right. Which it does make a big difference, but a physical core is always better.
Yeah, look at I guess it's too big of a jump, but what Rusty went to, one of our other gamers, he went from a i3 hyper-threading dual core to a Beast i7 Devil's Canyon.
Yeah, I think the boost clock on that thing's like 4.6 out of the box.
4.4, I think.
Holy God.
Yeah.
He's also been asking us about overclocking it, and that I know there's more to be had out of it, but I just don't know how much more. With the factory clock of that and boost of that, that's
to me though, that's a cool thing though. That's a cool thing. And to know that you're at the top of the game when it comes to your processor, you just set it and forget it. You ain't gotta worry about it.
It's true.
It's just there. Don't sweat it.
It's true.
Don't. It's with the just tech enthusiasts, we're always wondering how we're going to get the most out of what we can get. But if you already know that you're buying a part that's already getting everything you can out of it, it's a relief.
Yeah, it's like my 2700K when I started to be like, man, this thing's. I mean, it was right away too. It was like, man, I was really hoping that this jump from that Q6800X, that extreme processor that I had back in the day, I was like, man, this i7, it's faster for rendering, but not what I was hoping for. Then I was like, screw it, I'm just going to overclock it, and I freaking cranked up the multipliers and bumped up the voltage and changed the reference clock, and I was running it at 5 gigahertz for years. I just rolled it back recently to 4.8 because it's just, it's less heat output now that I have a GPU in the same water loop. It's like, well, shit, I'll lower it. But
yeah, don't want to kill your GPU too that way.
Yeah, and I mean, the hottest I get now running at 4.8, like hovering around, like, it depends. Sometimes I'll bounce between like 4.7, like a high 4.689, so 4.7 or 4.8. I mean, I don't ever see it go any hotter on any single core on a spike. It goes to like 75, and that's the spike, and then it's like, oh, I'm good. Then it settles out under a full workload to 60.
Just 75 is perfectly fine too.
Yeah, I mean, I could push it, but I'm just like, oh, because the order of loop. I mean, even though the order of the loop doesn't matter in water cooling, it's like, so I go from the CPU into the radiator and then out the radiator into the water block for the GPU. To me, I'm just like, man, that's even more heat coming out of the system through the radiator. Like, I like it being dead silent, and I don't like it pumping out a mass amount of heat when I'm just sitting here doing random stuff.
Yeah, a little compromise. 200 megahertz isn't going to hurt anything.
No, but I mean, that's that 4.6 of 4.7, 4.8, that's, a whole gigahertz per core over the base clock on this CPU, and it's old. This is an old CPU on an old Intel board, which just goes to show the quality of the old Intel stuff.
And how they like to flip-flop on that.
God, I know. They were like, we have Sandy Bridge. It's perfect. It's soldered. The die is soldered to the cap. Let's leave it. Nope, let's make Ivy Bridge. Let's ruin it. Okay, let's come out with the next generation. Oh, we fixed it. Now come out with freaking Kaby Lake or Skylake. Oh, we fucked it up again.
Yeah, we fixed it. I think they're comfortable now. Let's screw it up again.
Like, I get why. From a standpoint, it's like, well, it's cheaper to do and more eco-friendly to do a thermal interface material. It's not silver solder.
Yeah, but to argue that it's cheaper and all that stuff, it's like, what the heck has AMD been doing then? Like, they're pricing way under Intel. They're still pricing way under Intel, and they're soldering day and night all the processors.
They just need to give up, get rid of the cap, the die, the heat spreader, and give us a GPU style.
Oh, like the old days.
Yep, like the old days.
AMD.
Yep.
I'm not sure when how long ago it was Intel was just straight die. They were always like, where are the heat spreaders? And AMD was like, I guess, back in like Ep.4 64 when they first switched to heat spreader.
I mean, back in the day, sure, it was scary because you're like, oh God, I'm going to crack the die putting it in.
But scary as hell, man.
But since Naples, allegedly, the new AMD, we're going to talk about that in a minute, since Naples is possibly going to an LGA array, landing grid array style socket, if they gave you a CPU basically already delidded, they just shipped them that way, and the LGA brackets were just the appropriate size, so whatever cooler you put on there, as long as you're using non-conductive interface material, would sit right on it and sit on it perfectly and not touch any of the transistors around it. Dude, you would get such better temps just straight away. Screw having like any cooler that's now a 65 watt TDP cooler, and that's what the processor's design is, a 65 watt TDP. You take that heat spreader out and you just go straight to the die. Now you have plenty of headroom.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, definitely. It's just the technology has changed around where people can figure out how to not break a die when mounting a freaking cooler on it.
Yep.
Just do it right. But definitely with the interesting stuff going on with the Ryzen 16 core Naples, I think is going to be a Ryzen 16 core that's been rumored is going to be the binned Naples. It's half the cores.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. And what I think is cool, though, that I hope that AMD does, just to troll Intel, is to call it X399.
X399.
That's the rumor. They're going to call chips at X399. I mean, it is LGA, but I think it's LGA because of how big it's going to get. Like, they're just like, they have to do something in order to get more pins in the same amount of space.
Well, and they screwed up with Ryzen, though, not allowing Ryzen, like the R7s, to be a multi-CPU setup in a rig.
That they did.
They screwed up.
They should have added some extra points for that, like extra, like, I don't know, whatever they call it, QPI links that Intel uses and stuff like that. But yeah, that was a missed opportunity there.
Yeah, they screwed up badly. But they fixed that in Naples. Now Naples is like, hey, yeah, it supports multi-CPUs. It's like, oh.
Yeah, but Naples is crazy, though. Naples is going to be, it is what the classic definition of multi-chip module.
Yeah.
So that basically means you take a single Ryzen processor and you take another Ryzen processor and you put them together, and that's Naples.
Yeah.
So however big a processor is, this big, you put another one next to it, and that's how it's going to be this big of a die.
We're going back to Pentium 3, dude.
You're going to look like a slot processor, but it's going to lay flat on a motherboard.
Yeah.
And that's just ridiculous. It's such a gigantic heat spreader. Its Infinity Fabric's going to be saving its ass as far as bandwidth talking between not only the cores, but between the modules themselves. It's just nutty. But here's the crazier part. The chipset is on the chip. It's on there. It's not on a motherboard.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
How
crazy.
How much bigger can you make it?
Yeah. Well, let's see. They need to put some voltage chokes in it and make an 8-pin, two 4-pins, or 2 8-pins. So one for this CCX module and this for this CCX module, and then just plug straight into the CPU, into that gigantic LG. That's the only way they'd make it bigger. Put chokes and voltage regulators on it. Screw it.
I heard some rumors of 8-channel memory, but realistically, it's going to be quad channel. And well, actually, you know what? Naples might be 8-channel, but the Ryzen 16 core X399 real HEDT high whatever. What do you want to call it? What is that? High efficiency? No. Am I messing up the acronym?
I
High
don't
performance. High end. Sorry, it's high end desktop.
remember.
That's what HEDT. That's the whole 6800, 6900K, blah blah.
Stupid.
This is going to be the real HEDT competitor, whereas Ryzen in its current form to me is more like prosumer in a way.
Yeah.
And Ryzen 16 core HEDT X399 blah blah blah. That's going to be the professional.
Professional. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is you look at these people who have, workstations in their home. Not a lot of people do, but there are a few that do. That just run VMs and stuff like, especially if you're a software coder, you're going to have multiple boxes or multiple VMs on your machine so you don't destroy your OS if you screw something up while you're coding.
Yeah,
so
sandboxing.
So for those people who run, VMs and sandbox when they design, the base Ryzen's good enough, but dude, Naples, build a dual Naples setup because I think they're talking the price is going to be like $899 for a Naples CPU. I think that's the rumored.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, the rumored price for the Ryzen 16 core was 1,000. I think Naples is going to be a little over that, but either way, that's still going to be way less than a competing Intel.
$2,200, I think, is a competing server processor.
Yeah, so it's going to be like maybe $1,500 for Naples in that ballpark,
Jesus.
which is still less, especially if you're buying multiple Naples processors and you're just adding them up and just holy crap, you're going to have threads for days.
For days, son. For days.
Yeah, so this it'd be nice to see the Ryzen 16 core and Naples start to be more prominent in the leaks and news and rumor mill and all that stuff. It's always interesting.
Right. I mean, the AMD fanaticism is kind of a problem a little bit, I think. And I think because now it's been thrown into the forefront of you guys are getting a little bit ridiculous, it's finally starting to calm the fuck down.
Yeah, now like months later.
But I mean, you couldn't go onto any tech forum, subreddit or anything like that without people being like, I'm going to sell my 7700K and buy a Ryzen. I'm not. That's just like, are you what? Like, and then the AMD people be like, yeah, do it. And now that they've seen the benchmarks, they're like, well, all I do is game. Shit, maybe that's not a good idea. Like,
oh no, yeah, no. Keep waiting.
Yeah, wait.
Your processor. This is not the processor for you.
That's how it feels. It's like these aren't the processors you're looking for.
I saw an extremely positive post on, I think it was a PCMR or something, or was it AMD? I think it was AMD. Somebody mentioned like, oh,
tis a silly place. We don't go there.
Their dragons lie there.
Yeah.
Something like that. I forget how that quote goes. There may be dragons, whatever. Somebody had said like, oh, I was doing encoding, like the power of Ryzen. I was doing encoding. I fired up a game. He said first that he fired up and did one thing. He wasn't that impressed, but then he turned it into gaming, live streaming, encoding, and doing one other thing, and said that he's completely impressed and nothing got bogged down. And then somebody top comment on that, out of all of them on there, top comment was, Ryzen, you are exactly the person Ryzen is for.
Yep. I mean, for me, and maybe it's just the foundation of how I use a computer, but for me, if I'm doing something on a computer, I don't want to say I don't multitask, but I'm just not going to be like, I'm going to render down this video that's just eating my CPU and GPU while it's encoding, changing the bitrate and all that stuff, transcoding it for YouTube or whatever. I'm not going to sit here and be like, now I want a game while it does this. I mean, sure, it'd be cool to kill some time, but for me, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go outside, go chill with the dog, maybe watch some, Netflix or something while it renders. No big deal. I'm not going to be like, well, I'm already sitting here. Let me go ahead and game. Like, to me, that just, I just sit and I think about it. I'm like, oh, we're in springtime already. It's already getting warmer. That's more heat, more cores. Oh, God.
I never see you doing that, but what's funny is at the LAN parties that we host, I've seen Matt, I've seen Joseph, oddly both of them, they're sitting there waiting for us, and they have the game running, and then they just minimize it and launch another game.
Oh yeah, I could do that all day. You could do that too with yours.
Oh yeah, sure, but
because the way the task schedule works, it's like, oh, this program's not in the front, we're going to go ahead and give it low priority.
But let's say that was a streamer.
No. Well, I tried to stream at your house for the LAN party, and I killed your internet.
Well, that was the internet, not the computer.
I know. Yeah, I killed his upload. We all got kicked from Battlefield 4. I was like, what the hell happened to our pings? It's like, oh, sorry, everybody. Sorry.
Whoops.
That was me.
I gotta call Charter and see if I can put it on 110.
But that's the thing is you had double the bandwidth of what I was using to upload because I was conservative. I made it 2.5.
You put like 2.5, yeah.
Yeah, and it's still just,
killed it.
yeah. Whatever.
Maybe
Whatever.
we can try it again and see what happens at Cody's at our next LAN party.
We can. We can. He has the same internet I have here. So, and I almost killed my own internet when I tried to stream at the old outdoor. I have Charter.
Oh. Of
But
course, he has the same internet than I have.
Yeah, that you have too, but he has the new package, the 100 whatever it is.
Oh, the Torley package. God.
Yeah.
He's the first one I heard about that. And I remember you telling me that we're going to be getting a free upgrade, but where is the free upgrade?
It's Charter. You're probably going to have to call him and chew him out and be like, hey, asshole. Give me your
They'll probably counter and they'll be like, well, you did argue with us and got your price lowered for your current service. You can ride that out.
I've never had my price lowered since the promo price went away. I never fought with them on it.
Yeah, I'll argue with them for a little bit.
You should.
Even $5, man.
$5 is $5.
I do the same with Dish.
Ooh.
I can't use the same excuse I used to use though.
What'd you use?
Dish. My old package, I had a good price on it. Had Fox Sports 2. Back then it was called Fuel TV.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of UFC on Fuel TV.
I remember Fuel.
And then Fuel got closed up to be folded into Fox Sports 2. Speed Channel got turned into Fox Sports 1. And then the packages got split. So only the most expensive package had Fox Sports 2, but not Fox Sports 1, which you had to add the sports package to get Fox Sports 1 back. That's like, what the hell? That's way too much.
It's true. It's very.
So then I got. Yeah. But the middle package has Fox Sports 1, but no Fox Sports 2.
Shenanigans.
So I just said, screw it. I'll just miss the content on Fox Sports 2. And fortunately, UFC shifted most of their content onto Fox Sports 1. Off of Fox Sports 2, they probably knew there was a lot less people watching that channel.
Oh, yeah.
And then now, the reason I can't use that excuse is now Fox Sports 2 is included in my current package. They just added it. So it's like, well, shit.
Deal with it, dude. Deal with it.
Yeah. Well, I think that pretty much sums it up for us today.
Yeah, I'm feeling like crap. I'm going to go use the restroom when we're done here.
Yeah,
we're pretty much done, so
yeah.
I appreciate
Anyways, guys, this is Chris with Coalition Gaming.
And this is Chris, Homebrewed Hero. We'll see you guys hopefully soon.
Remember to stay positive and no hate. We're all a good community here of enthusiasts, and let's be enthusiastic. It's in the word.
It's true. You don't want to be like, I hate you, AMD people. We don't need that. We don't need that.
No. Alrighty, guys.
See you guys.